Today on Judge Faith, his former friend lived in his mini mansion for 14 years and then left it trashed when he was evicted.
He left the place in a pigsty. It was filthy. There was so much junk.
There was 13 years of stuff built up in a 4-level house.
How long did it take you to clean out the entire house?
Days. I had a crew of 7. It was a toxic waste dump.
And later, her son's ex-girlfriend borrowed large sums of money from her, then acted like it was a gift when the relationship ended.
This is online, so when people go to check in on me, they see this, and this is looking like I don't pay my bill.
Well, you don't.
When I didn't give her this month.
That was why she was evicted. You were evicted because you didn't pay your bill.
I get people who come in here all day, every day, and tell me stories, but you tell some doozies.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor, and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real, and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Michael Rogers says his former friend leased a mini mansion from him for over 14 years and then quickly moved out, leaving extensive damage. He's suing for home repairs and cleaning. Defendant Danny Saber says he left the mini mansion in good condition and his friend is being unreasonable.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this is Rogers versus Saber.
Thank you, Barbara. Michael Rogers.
Yes.
You were suing the defendant, Daniel Saber, for $25,000 for home repairs and back rent you say he owes you?
That's correct.
And you understand the statutory maximum in my court is $5,000?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How did the two of you know each other?
He actually got us started in my recording studio. We're both in the music business.
Okay.
And then he went on to do very well, and he was making good money.
So you've been in the music industry for a long time. Who have you guys worked with?
Everybody. Madonna, DJ Quick, Bitter Girls, NWA, Booyah Tribe, all types of people. And he's worked with some great people,
And
too.
are you a producer?
Producer and studio owner and writer. And I also build houses, which that's what makes the difference between him and I. I diversified into real estate, and he did not.
How much was the rent you were paying?
By the time I checked data, there was $5,000 a month.
$5,000?
You know?
How large is the house?
It's big. It's humongous.
It's big. It's 4 stories. It's all marble. It's handcrafted. 21 years ago, I actually built it. I can't believe I had enough energy to do it. Obviously I had help, but it's a very beautiful custom-built house, and he used to call it the wow factor.
It's an amazing house. That's not the issue here.
And did you live there by yourself?
With my wife, yeah. And we were running a studio out of there. It was a reflection of me. I took so much pride in that house, as did my wife, and I don't think Michael would disagree. We took amazing care of it. We were there for so long. And essentially what happened was, people know the bottoms dropped out of the music business. I've had a tough time the last year maintaining the rent. It had been stressful for me and Michael. And Michael, we had a good relationship, and we actually sat down and when things were looking like something had to give because it was becoming really stressful. I wasn't generating enough income. So the bottom line is we sat down and I said,
May
look,
I see
Michael,
a photo of the house, please?
We decided that we would come to a certain date, and if I wasn't caught up by that date and in a position to sort of know we were going to be solid for a little while, I would get out. I waived all my rights. People were telling me he has to evict you, and it will take him 4 months to get a court order, and it's like, I don't want to do that to my friend.
We both went down to a notary, and he said he would leave and vacate the property.
May I see that, please?
This is what he signed, and it's notarized. We both went together.
And so at this point, he had not paid rent in June, July, and...
Going on the 3rd month. He's been slow on the rent each month.
And he had been giving me a lot of leeway, and that's why I went to sit with him and we worked this out. But the point is, Your Honor, that,
So he was paying $5,000 a month at this point?
He was, but he had not.
In a couple
months.
This
is the worst thing.
But I had been paying money at bits and pieces what I could.
This is not even the issue. The real issue is this.
What's the real issue, Michael?
When he left the place in a pigsty. It was filthy. There was so much junk. I had so many bags that had to be bagged and tagged. It was a toxic waste dump.
In that window of me trying to pull it together and really realizing, okay, we had that, I started looking around and started gearing up to get out. There was 13 years of stuff built up in a 4-level house that I was running as a business. People would come and drop stuff off, et cetera, et cetera. I was the only person capable of actually going through the stuff and figuring out what was going on. I started that process. Then at the point where, you know, we kind of got towards close to the date, I was reaching out to Michael. He was out of town. He had personal things. I was trying to communicate and just say, hey, man, look, I know we made this tape, but this is just not realistic. I got to start by getting, you know, I'm doing the best I can. I'm cooperating. I'm not turning around and reneging on the deal, but I'm going to need a little leeway.
Let me see some photos of what the inside of the home looked like after you moved out, sir.
It was just stuff. That's the garage, Your Honor. That is not my stuff. Right? There was other tenants that had left stuff, and there was stuff.
Well, I mean, you lived there for 14 years,
right,
so why would anyone else's stuff be in there?
Because we had a roommate. I had a number of roommates over the years.
At this point, you're living there by yourself. You're responsible to clean the place out.
Fair enough.
Okay, next photo. Why are you leaving all of, you're saying you just didn't have enough time?
He ran me off. I mean, by the time I got he was, you know, saying he's going to send people to take my stuff away, and this was all leading up, and it was really stressful. My wife was sick. I was basically working on my own. I had to borrow the money to move the valuable things.
Where did you move to?
And I had to put some stuff in storage, and I'm sort of staying with between relatives right now. I mean, I'm really in a jam.
So most of your things are in storage?
Yeah, they're put away now.
Okay.
And then on top of it, I wasn't able to generate any income for 2 weeks really leading up to this because I was trying to deal with moving everything.
Basically, I had to carry the stuff out, and Goodwill would not take any of his stuff. They wouldn't take any of his clothes. They considered it to be not suitable for Goodwill. He had an 80s lifestyle in the year 2014, and they just didn't want the stuff, and I had to cart it away and pay for it. And I had a crew of 7 working for days to move the stuff out, some of which would not touch the stuff because they thought somebody died in there.
Coming up on Judge Faith, was Michael or Danny responsible for the major mess in the mini mansion?
You were threatening me and scaring me, and you ran me off.
The mess that he left me, I would not leave to my worst enemy.
We have to distinguish between normal wear and tear and getting the place ready to release.
And later, did this ex try to evade a bill she had with her boyfriend's mother?
She called me and stated that she needed an additional amount of money. So I was like, well, I can loan you this money.
Not true. I actually called her son to ask her son for the money.
This bank statement does not show what you did with the money, where you sent it, who you sent it to.
Plaintiff Michael Rogers says his former tenant stopped paying rent and practically destroyed his mini mansion. He's suing for home repairs and cleaning. Defendant Danny Saber says he did his best to leave the mini mansion in good condition, but his friend ran him out.
All he was interested in is get out, I want to get another tenant. And really, essentially, he ran me off. I told you, Michael, I never intended to leave it this way.
Okay, so let's go over your lawsuit because you understand that we have to distinguish between normal wear and tear and getting the place ready to release and remodeling.
That's correct.
And doing upkeep. Tell me about some of the expenses you've incurred since he's moved out and what you've had to do to make repairs.
Right. I understand painting is not a problem, okay? Normal wear and tear, not a problem, but I had to rip the whole carpet out. That's not even a problem because after 14
years, you never changed the carpet.
Right.
I'm okay.
Carpet is supposed to be replaced after 5 years.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But the mess that he left me, I would not leave to my worst enemy. I mean, he just completely, and you know, just junk, and it was useless junk. You know, I mean, it's just stuff that I couldn't even give it to somebody.
How much did it cost for you to have all of that stuff removed?
Thousands of dollars. All then the repairs on the mirrors and the broken glass and this and that. That was not normal wear and tear in a house. And yes, his place appeared to be okay.
Other than the...
But when you when you walk in the house, but nobody looked in the closets, nobody looked in the upstairs, nobody looked in the garage, and there was so much junk in there.
14 years with building up of stuff. I never had a chance to.
It's hoarding, and it's a disease. I understand, but it is what it is. It's hoarding. And you left your mess, and I had to clean it up.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying why did that happen?
Why did you do it?
Because we lost track of communication.
I thought we were friends.
You were threatening me and scaring me, and you ran me off.
I'm not a threatening person. I live right next. I live right down the street from him. He has to pass my house every day to go to the store.
You told me you would have people show up and take all my stuff if I wasn't out at 9 a.m.
How long did it take you to clean out the entire house?
Days. I had a crew of 7 laborers, and they were. I had to do some of the work because they wouldn't even touch some of the stuff. So
did you use any of the $8,000? You had last month's rent, and then you had the security deposit. Did you use that towards the damages?
Yeah, I'm still way in the hole. I used everything, and I live off my rents now. My music business is not as good, just like his is.
And that's why I left, Your Honor. As a friend, I got out when I was in the process.
Like I said, he had a beautiful, it's a big, beautiful house. It's bigger than mine. I wish I could afford to live there myself, but I have to rent it so I can survive. I'm a single parent and I have a kid. And you know what, if he would have just left the place clean, that would have made a big difference because that was a really slap in the face to me, Danny.
Michael, again, you ran me off. You weren't acting rational, Michael. You were threatening me, and I was under a tremendous amount of pressure.
You were 3 months behind, and he left me a mess.
But then I left on my own. I left on my own
Here's
accord.
my judgment and my ruling in this case. Based on all of the evidence submitted in this case, I've seen many more photos than we put on the flat screen. The plaintiff submitted several photos of the condition you left the property in, sir, and he's submitted over $9,000 in receipts for items that he's had to purchase in order to fix the place back up again. And I understand there's normal wear and tear, but based on my analysis, just the 3 months of back rent you admit to owing exceeds the $5,000 statutory maximum in this courtroom. So my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. You owe him $5,000, sir. $5,000 verdict for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
Plaintiff Charlize McBride says her son's ex-girlfriend took advantage of her kindness by borrowing money from her and refusing to pay it back. She's suing for the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees. Defendant Taranisha Vickens says she paid back the car loan in cash and never asked the plaintiff to bail her out of jail. She's countersuing for defamation of character.
Charlize McBride?
Yes.
You were suing the defendant, Taranisha Vickens?
Yes.
For $2,806, the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees from an apartment?
Correct.
And you are countersuing for $1,000 for defamation of character?
Correct.
Okay, I'll start with you, Ms. McBride. How do you know the defendant?
I know the defendant from my son. She dated him somewhere between 2008, 2009. And during that time period, she borrowed some money from me. Tara went to Chicago to visit her uncle, and she was going to be purchasing a vehicle by an auction. She called me and stated that she needed an additional amount of monies, that she had put some money down, and that if she did not have an additional amount, which was at that time $800, that she would lose the amount that she already had put down. And so I was like, well, I can loan you this money.
Now, you're saying she called you directly,
She
not
called
your
me
son.
from Chicago.
Okay.
Directly, because she did have my phone number.
Okay, so what do you have to say about that?
Not true. I actually called her son to ask her son for the money because I was in Chicago, not visiting relatives. I don't have any relatives who live in Chicago. I was actually in Chicago to purchase the vehicle, and I put a certain amount of money down with the understanding that once I put that money down, I will only owe another $1,000. Not true. So I got to Chicago to buy the vehicle. They told me that I had to pay an additional $600 to get that vehicle. I called upon my boyfriend to ask him for the money. He told me he did not have it. He would talk to his mom and to call his mother.
Your Honor,
did you talk to her
true.
directly?
I did talk to her about that. She did
Okay.
say that she would put the money into my account. I did thank her, and I did agree to pay her that money back, which I have. We actually went out to lunch and everything. We did continue to have a relationship after after myself and her son broke it off.
But that has nothing to do with the fact that she owes me my money.
Coming up, was Taranisha taking advantage of Charlize's kindness or just gracefully accepting her gift?
Then she got arrested for a ticket, and she called my house at the middle of the night, and my husband and I went to bail her out.
You're in court today telling me that you didn't ask her for the money, so you feel like you don't have to pay her back.
Plaintiff Charlize McBride says the plaintiff took advantage of her kindness. She's suing for the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees. Defendant Taranisha Vickens says she paid the car loan back in cash and never asked the plaintiff for bail money. She's countersuing for defamation of character.
Ma'am, please go on.
When she was still owing me the $800, then she got arrested for a ticket, and she called my house at the middle of the night, and my husband and I went to bail her out. That was $400. So that was an additional added to the $800.
So that's a total of $1,200.
Now that we are at
you're saying.
$1,200 at this point, and this was around December.
So you didn't ask her for any money. You asked her son to bail you out.
I
and
asked her
so
son.
you feel that you don't owe for that as well.
Correct, because I never asked her for it. I did not know she
Why
was
isn't your son
coming.
here, ma'am?
My son, he's not here because he lives in New York and he was not able to get off work. But I have evidence supporting my argument against the things that she has done.
Okay, so what evidence do you have to
I
show
have
that
a
it was
promissory
loan?
note that she signed.
Did you sign a promissory note?
I did.
Yes.
Okay,
She
saying
signed
that you
it.
owed the money?
I did.
Let me see the promissory note, please.
And on this promissory note down here at the bottom is also the ticket from when she got arrested, because I took the copy because I paid the $400.
I did tell her that I would give her her money back. I'm not arguing that. What I am arguing is that I have given her her money back. The $200 that I started paying her monthly, I don't have that account bank statement because that account was due to fraudulent. It was closed due to fraudulent
Okay, so you don't
activity,
have proof.
And
when
I
you
don't
come
have
to court,
that. But I
you have to have proof.
I have proof from my last bank account showing that on the 22nd of June, I paid her $280. Then on the 27th of June, I paid her $260.
Did she pay you any money?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so let me see that. Let me see that. You're giving me a bank statement that shows you withdrew money out of your account. This bank statement does not show what you did with the money, where you sent it, who you sent it to. If you want me to accept as proof that you paid someone back, the only fact you have to support that is that you took cash out of your bank account. It is wholly and completely insufficient. That's what I'm telling you. So you're also suing for a personal loan for eviction, $1,605.67.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
And on this particular one, because of her credit, she was unable to get an apartment. My son, because of his credit, if he would co-sign, that this will allow her to be able to get into
So
her
they got
apartment.
an apartment together,
No,
both of
they
their
did not get an
names.
apartment together. He co-signed. He didn't live with her.
He didn't co-sign,
Okay.
he signed
Do you want-
the
May I
lease.
see a copy of the
Okay.
lease? Yes.
This is the copy of the lease and the date of sign as well as the date of the eviction.
I'm sure you're saying you don't owe for this
And
either.
as
Tell
of
me why.
this is
No,
highlighted.
this I actually don't owe for because I actually never
Barbara, would you
called
hand that to
on
me,
her.
please?
This is the
to
highlighted
pay
where she
this.
stated that she would be paying me.
Because I did still owe her money from her bailing me out. I knew I still owed her that. But as far as this eviction, I also have emails where I'm clearly stating to her in these emails, I don't owe you any more than $200, maybe $4. Correct me if I am wrong, because I didn't call on her.
And did I correct you and say you are wrong?
No, you didn't. You didn't
Exactly.
say
I did not say
anything.
that you were. That
You didn't
I
say
never sent you an
anything.
email and said that you were incorrect.
You expect me to believe you are no longer involved with her son, the two of you are no longer dating, and that she's continuing just giving you money.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
You have a counterclaim for defamation of
Because
character.
this is online now that she's suing me for this large lump sum of money. This is online, so when people go to check in on me, they see this, and this is looking like I don't pay my bills.
Well, you don't.
When I didn't give her this money.
That was why she was evicted.
didn't.
You were evicted because you didn't pay your bill.
Actually, I was evicted because my roommate stole money out of my account.
Okay.
That's why I was evicted.
It's always a story.
Why would
Your
you be
Honor.
evicted because your roommate stole money from your
Exactly.
account? What does that
money
have
out
to
of
do with
my
your
account,
apartment?
and when I sent in my rent check, it bounced.
I get people who come in here all day, every day, and tell me stories, but you tell some doozies. My verdict in this case is for the plaintiff. You owe her $800 for the car loan. I do not believe you paid her 1 red cent of that money. You owe her $400 for bailing you out. What I do find is that your son was a co-signer on the lease, so he should be responsible for half of that $1,600.
Correct.
So I'm ordering you to pay the plaintiff $2,002 plus her court costs. Judgment in this case for the plaintiff. Your counterclaim is dismissed, ma'am. Have a good day.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story. See you in court.